everybody, welcome to Careers Out There. I'm Mark Luber, and today we are in Pasadena, California, sitting with Cameron Stone, a professional cellist who has performed with the likes of Green Day on their most recent album, on Guns N' Roses' track November Rain. He performed recently with Whitney Houston at the American Music Awards. He's played on countless TV commercials, James Bond films, played with Andrea Bocelli, and here he is with us today. Thank you so much for joining us, Cameron.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate your being here. So, with so many careers out there, I have to ask you, as a musician, there's still other things you could have done professionally. What made you choose to be a professional cellist?
You know, I had no choice. Mom started me when I was 3, and I just kept it up through college. I actually got a scholarship to college playing cello, and before I knew it, I was making money playing. Most people work and they make money. So,
when did you know?
I don't think I knew until I was actually putting more money in a bank account than I was taking out, and I thought, wow, you know, I'm making a living playing the cello.
Was there a point where you thought, I might have to do something else?
Yes. Yeah. Trying to pay off some of USC. I was a repo man for a while. I worked with my brother for a while framing houses. Not too good for the hands, but you do what you can to turn a buck. Fortunately, I turn a buck playing cello now.
Tell everybody, you know, I named a few of the projects. Tell us some of the things that you've worked on and what exactly it is that you do. What does it mean, professional cellist?
I make a lot of noise on things from dog food commercials to Green Day records. I worked with Andrea Bocelli this year, Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, a couple projects for Dr. Dre, a couple of the young guys from American Idol. Tons of fun stuff. Played with Whitney Houston on the American Music Awards. And a lot of artists you wouldn't know too. People who are doing their, you know, their soul project or their project they've always wanted to do, and you'll never probably hear their record. But it's still fun. All sorts of different music. I'm very lucky.
What's a typical day for someone who does what you're doing?
Typical day for me is I love to get up early and play tennis. That gets my blood going, because the rest of my day as a cellist I'm sitting down. Typical day today, I did 4 Visa commercials, and later today I'm working on a project that's coming out in about 2 months. I wish I could tell you who it was. A lot of session work. When I'm done with other people's session work, I usually come home and work for myself. I maintain a home studio, and diversification has helped me be successful. Not only to be the cellist, but also to be the engineer or the producer or the composer. I find that that doing a lot of things keeps me busy, also keeps more irons in the fire than not.
We all saw that viral video this year about the musician whose guitar was destroyed by the airlines. Does anything like that ever happen to you? I've
had several pieces of gear damaged in baggage. Fortunately, I'm at the place now in my career where I make all my clients buy an extra seat. It's nice. Nice to have my instrument near me. And
so the cello's actually sitting there on the plane?
Right next to me, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do they give peanuts for the cello?
You know, I chided them about that. The last flight I was on a couple days ago, I said to the stewardess, "You didn't offer my cello any beer."
That'd be very nice. You guys could drink together.
Yeah.
So what is the lifestyle like? Is this career path a 12-hour workday, a 5-hour workday? Are you racing all over the road, all over the country all the time? What does it mean to be in this path? Well, I'm trying to stay off the road, except with wonderful clients who treat me right and buy the extra seat for the cello. I say the lifestyle is wonderful. I meet new people every day. I'm in a different place every day. I'm working on different music every day, most of which is just fabulous. Some stuff, you know, the occasional paint commercial, it's hard to get physically or emotionally involved in it. But it's a wonderful lifestyle. I love it. Right now I have enough clients lined up, so I could work a 12-hour day through the middle of February and get everybody caught up. I'm very fortunate. It's very important as any sort of entrepreneur to not be geographically constrained to your job. By that I mean reaching out on the web. I have a bunch of clients in Japan, Spain, a bunch of clients up and down the East Coast. So I think that's a huge thing for anybody in any profession. Get outside of your physical geography and develop some clients everywhere. You don't have to go all over the world to play all over the world. Recording no longer has to be done in a big building with a huge console and a big tape deck. I actually have a recording studio in my backpack.
It's amazing. What is the best part about what you do?
I love the fact that as a musician, I create from nothing. There's silence when I start. And then all of a sudden you create something which is really intangible. It's just a sound wave. But all of a sudden you create something and somebody else says, hey, that has a value to me. And the second nicest part of that is getting the check.
Being paid is good. Being paid is good. So here's a question that a lot of people out there are going to be wondering. How did you get there? What did you have to do career-wise to get to this point where you're now able to not just make a living, but to be kicking ass at what you're doing?
Well,
to be getting calls from big-time people. You're doing all the exciting stuff. There's people around the world that could be watching this right now who would dream to have your job. You are one of those people with one of those dream jobs.
It is.
And so they're wondering, how can they do it? How can the person watching right now do what you're doing? What did you have to do?
Practice, nose to the grindstone, of course. Know what you're doing. As a musician, I think one of my two greatest attributes are on either side of my head. I don't know that I'm the best player, but I try to use my ears as much as possible. Other steps that I think anybody could apply to their profession: always leave your clients satisfied. I've never had a business card. I don't consider that a good thing or a bad thing, but I've had wonderful clients who remember me and keep calling me back. I'd say that goes in any profession. Keep your clients satisfied.
If someone's watching right now and they're thinking, maybe I should be a professional musician, or maybe I should be a dog catcher, what do you think someone trying to make a decision should plan in their mind as far as, I'm going to eat top ramen noodles for 10 years, and then maybe I'll make $1?
Time-wise, I would say look to be trying to diversify your musical abilities, and by that I mean do lots of things. You should be doing lots of things by the end of high school. During college, please, of course, you're going to have to focus on your craft and focus on your art, but still try to do other things. I mentioned a bass player friend of mine paid his way through college playing jazz gigs at night. So, and Oprah told me this on one occasion: diversify your income. If you want to become a musician, keep doing what you're doing. Become a musician elsewhere. Don't. If you're just looking to make a living as a musician and you're just starting, that's a lot of pressure. There's no shame in having a second job. One of my best drummer friends lives in Nashville, has a second job. Well, he used to have a second job at Circuit City. Now they're defunct, but he's a realist. So I would say, if you're looking to get into this business and you're just starting, don't put a lot of pressure on earning a buck playing music. But once you get started, there's more and more opportunities come up. Commercials are great for that.
When you were getting going, and you were nobody knew who you were. You were just a guy in his bedroom playing the cello. What got you to that point where you were in demand and having good gigs?
Well, I specifically remember playing with a string quartet. It happened to be 3 very good-looking women and myself. And we were picked to play for backup for Depeche Mode for a week at the Forum. And I think we were picked because of how good they looked. But we really tried to do a good job. And the moment that 20,000 people were screaming at me, I thought, I want to do this again. This is really cool. I think as a cellist, as a classical cellist, I didn't go for the meat and gravy Los Angeles Philharmonic job. In fact, I auditioned for the job. There were 400 of us. And the end of the first day, there were 76 of us left. I got called for the second day, and I was all excited. And I played 4 notes. And they said, thank you, we'll call you. They never called back. And I figured at that point, you know what, let me try something else. I started, one of my first early gigs was Percy Sledge. Loved playing with that because it wasn't anything that a cellist typically did. And I just kept gravitating toward fun things, out of the box. I plug my cello in, I go electrified sometimes. Playing with Guns N' Roses in the early 90s was an eye-opener. November Rain was one of the tunes I worked on way back when. I'm dating myself. But it's nice to have those little stepping stones and to find a niche to go somewhere. And I think
I just kept going back to those same clients again, those wonderful clients who'd bring me in for the odd, weird thing. Let's see, going back a little bit, Drew Hill, Cypress Hill, playing with a rap group. That was absolutely intense. Don't mess up, ever.
You mentioned earlier that getting paid is a great part, which of course for any job. How do you get paid? How does someone you're not getting a salary,
Nope.
You're not getting a commission. What
Nope.
are you getting? How do you get paid as a professional musician?
Well, normally as a musician, if I'm working a straight union gig, it's all set up. For example, I just worked the American Music Awards. It's set up, you get it per hour, you get a certain amount of breaks per hour. So at the end of the project, you basically know I have X amount of money. The commercials I did this morning, those are a set amount of money. The nice thing is with commercials, if I play music and then I overdub, I get paid twice, even though there's only one of me at the session. So that adds up. The session I'm doing this afternoon, I'll negotiate the arrangement fee and the playing fee beforehand. There is no salary. However, I am the CEO of my own corporation, so I do pay myself a salary. It's very small, but that's fine because my corporation handles a lot of the expenses in my life.
So you have to join a union.
You don't have to. It helps. It certainly helps. Residuals are wonderful for commercials. For example, I'll go in, the stock rate is $115 an hour. However, if they use that commercial for the next year, I may make thousands of dollars. It's nice. If I'm negotiating for myself, if it's not a union gig or if I'm just helping a friend out arrange, if you're working for Sony, I'll probably charge you 4 figures. If you're working for yourself and you're just making a small record, boutique album, I might charge you 3 figures.
Mm-hmm. What about the road? How does that work? Is that a day rate?
The road I negotiate weekly, and it's usually customary to add a per diem to that so you can eat without thinking about, I need to go to the ATM to get some money to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend works for Madonna, gets paid around $16,000 a week. Another buddy of mine works for Mariah Carey and gets about $6,000 to $7,000 a week. Way back when, in the early '90s, Jewel wanted to pay me $800 a week. I had to turn her down for that.
For that kind of money. Got it. Sticking with the financial topic, without saying exactly what you make, what can someone say? Well, when I succeed at your level, I could expect.
Good question, and I hope this makes everybody smile. I have what I call supermodel days. Sometimes supermodels get paid, not the supermodels, but if I get $1,000 a day, that's a great day for me. I love making $1,000 a day. Maybe I wouldn't work the day after that. Maybe I'll turn them into 2 $500 days.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can make $1,000 a day, that's a wonderful day for me. Sometimes I might play on one commercial. It might take me 5 minutes. I'll get paid $115 for that, for a demo. But if that commercial runs for years, that could be thousands of dollars in my pocket. So the range is what you make of it. I play some church gigs and I might get paid $50, and that's great. I play some other gigs like the American Music Awards and come home with $2,500, and that's great too. When I first started out, I can show you my earnings. I may have done $30,000 to $40,000 a year, and now I'm bumping 200. So it's nice. Again, as a musician, please educate yourself about cash flow. There's a great book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I loved it. It really changed my life. Musicians don't have to be starving artists. Musicians can be entrepreneurs and very successful without being destitute.
That's great. Where can you take this? If you wanted, without going on the road and
Right.
being the $15,000 a week
Yeah.
artist, where can you take it financially?
Typically, I actually make more here, more in town than I do on the road. The only reasons I go on the road is to just get a very nice live playing experience. It pushes me as a musician to not have the safety zone of the recording. I can always say, hey, stop the tape, I made a mistake. But if there's 3,000 people looking at you, you can't stop the tape. So that's why I go on the road. In town, I have a small production company. We just did our first, I'm speaking in the plural because now I'm a corporate CEO. We just did our first Kia commercial. And those are wonderful because they can be so lucrative. I worked on a Nike commercial with Tiger Woods, who's not in favor right now, but he's a great golfer. And that was for the company I worked for, it was a $40,000 buyout, which represented about 20 minutes work for me. So it can be very lucrative, and I plan on expanding that part, the composition, the publishing part of my repertoire more than the playing. The players don't end up being the wealthy ones. As a musician, I would say if you want to make money, concentrate on songwriting. Wonderful, wonderful Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel spoke to us once when I was in college. He said, never, ever, ever sell your publishing. And that's a guy who can attest to it. The publishers are the ones who make the money. So if you're looking to step it up, write some songs.
Mm-hmm. I worked at a music publisher, and yes, they do.
Yeah.
That's where they make the money.
Oh, but a buddy, a fellow cellist, his name's Matt Slocum. He actually plays guitar quite a bit, but he's a fine cellist. He wrote the song "Kiss Me" for Sixpence.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Sixpence, none Richard. I think he's still making about $500,000 to $700,000 a year on one song.
Wow.
Write songs.
Wow. Right song. Absolutely.
Write songs.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. School. What kind of schooling and training would you say is important for someone who wants to do what you do?
I'd say anything through high school really probably doesn't help you. If you're going to pursue music professionally, you should probably have private instruction. It's a joke with us on the session scene. If we're playing, we did something really well, one or the other will look at us and go, "Oh, you took private," as opposed to the school system, which is wonderful. But I wouldn't say that our general American school system produces fine artists. I'd say you have to go outside of that. So when it got time for me to go to college, I was very much concerned with pursuing music and specifically cello playing as a career. So I went to USC, not because of the school, but because of my professor. I would say it would help anybody out who's pursuing a career as a musician or a specialist to find a professor, find a mentor who is awesome. Don't necessarily go to an institution. Look to a person more that you admire for inspiration as far as education. Explore. If you're just a player of the instrument, get to know the compositional aspects. If you're looking to expand, get into the theory of the instrument. It helped me out when I was in school to study other instruments, so that I would be able to compose for them. In college, we had to learn every instrument. Just at a rudimentary sense, it helped your composition, because then you would know how to write for trombone or how to write for oboe. It's really nice to cross-collateralize your knowledge throughout the entire, the whole genre of music.
And what about school grades? Do grades matter?
Grades matter. Grades absolutely matter. Grades kept my scholarship at USC. And they're also a measure of how you apply yourself. Yes, you can be a slacker. You can play guitar in a grunge band and get lucky. That's wonderful. But I tell you that the guy who comes home with a teaching credential, who doesn't make it in a grunge band, has that to fall back on. My sister and myself went ahead and got the teaching credential. Because what if someday, what if someday I can't play anymore? What are you going to do? Well, I can always fall back on teaching. And I intend to. I'd love to retire to a university or something. But go as far as you can with your education. And don't slack. It may seem like musicians are slackers at some point, but the really successful guys, well, some of the successful guys are lucky, but most of them, it's really hard work.
Well, what can someone watching right now who's in school, What can they be focusing on, and what do you wish that you had done? Whether it's an extracurricular activity, a job on the side, a certain major in school, what are things that people should be thinking about?
While you're in school, look for something that's fun to do that applies to your studies. I had a buddy who was a phenomenal bass player, classical bass player, but while he was going to USC, he worked jazz gigs at night to help pay for his tuition. So he was using his art not necessarily to help him be a better classical player, but it helped him pay his tuition, but it also helped his technique, and he was able to practice on the job. I loved, when I was in college, to do as many sessions as possible. Even if they were at USC, we were always hit on by the student film guys. Hey, come play on our student film. Sure. You get credit for doing their thing, and a couple bucks too. I would say while you're in school, do as many things as you can outside of school that mimic what you want your career to be in the future. And take a business course. I had to kind of educate myself after college as to what good cash flow was, how I wanted to set up my company. It'd be nice to know those things. If I had known those things out of college, I probably would have had my corporation 10 years before. So I'd say diversify with helpful knowledge that will help your career. Be your own manager. You don't have to rely on anybody else. As well as your musical knowledge, as well as your passions in college, go after the business too.
What if you live in Dubuque, in Tallahassee, in Bismarck? What can you do to pursue the kind of career that you have? And what kind of work is there if those people don't want to move to Los Angeles or New York?
Again, I would say don't be geographically constrained. I have this hope in my heart that for every musician, there's a client somewhere in the world who wants to use it. I'd say the Dubuque person or the Bismarck, North Dakota person might do well to find a niche. You have to be creative. It's probably not going to come to you unless you really, really pursue it and use your brain. I've found a niche in commercial work. I have a great commercial house. It just so happens that they're one of the biggest commercial houses in the world. They have offices in LA, London, Chicago, Paris, and New York. It just so happened that I fell into good favor with them. That helps me out. The Bismarck, North Dakota person might have to find a part-time job teaching, or maybe they play at their local church. But the point is that your experience accumulates and you'll get better. And also the word gets out, Conversely, if you're not good, word gets out too.
What skills would you say are required? Obviously being a good musician, but what other skills are important to succeed in this path?
If you want to be a professional musician and you have a habit of getting up late and running to your work late, don't do it. That's a huge thing. It may seem very small, but on time, that's one of the things you could do to other than being a great musician. Obviously, another thing is eye contact and a smile. You want to be a piece of the puzzle. You don't want to be a square peg in a round hole. Sometimes that means biting your mouth. Mm-hmm. So I'd say on time, good attitude, use your ears, and
would you wrap the good attitude into people skills, just having good people skills, knowing how to negotiate a lot of personalities, a lot of different kinds of personalities?
Yes, absolutely. If you're the easy guy, if you're the glue, if you're the guy that nobody ever rubs the wrong way and you don't rub anybody the wrong way, they'll call you back. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be that person for real. You can be a bit of an actor, and you're going to have to be at some point. I guarantee you, in the musical profession, at some point in your career, on a 7 or 8 or 9 hour call, something's going to make you mad, and it's going to be up to you to be the glue and help the artist as opposed to being the farmer.
Let's get to the ugly stuff because we don't want to paint too rosy a picture for it. We don't want everyone out there to think, this is the life. I'm just gonna learn cello and I'm gonna be playing with all my favorites. Yeah. What's the hardest part? What's the stuff that if you can't deal with this path is not for you?
If you can't deal with waiting around to get hired and then being grateful for a job, and then at the end of the job, you're essentially fired. It's an interesting life. Unless you have a symphony job or you're a regular teacher, session work is definitely waiting a little bit, waiting by the phone. Now, I'm very lucky. I have some standing gigs that I can go to right now. I have a couple library gigs, meaning there's work already to be done, and I can show up and do it whenever. But most musicians, I joke with my buddy who plays for Mariah Carey. The lights go on, people applaud, you're hired. At the end of the night, thank you very much, good night Los Angeles, you're fired. If you can't handle that, and you don't have good cash flow skills, I would think twice about being a session musician. Maybe go for the symphony job, the tenured, salaried,
Right, because otherwise it's a lot of short-term projects.
Yeah, tons of that.
And it's a lot of last-minute stuff too, isn't it?
Yeah, one has to be prepared to take the last minute final. A final is a commercial session that is going, quote, final. Out of the blue, Rob Thomas wanted to work on Sunday night. He called me Sunday afternoon. You have to be ready to work. Unfortunately, I was in San Francisco and couldn't get down quick enough.
Wow.
So it is piecemeal. It is sometimes disheartening. I know that in the winter months it will slow down for you. All record companies close between Christmas and New Year. You probably won't get a lot of work then, so plan ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Again, good cash flow. Have a business plan for your life and your profession, and make it work for you.
Now, here for more advice for people that are watching, what would you say are the keys to success? If you had to pick a few keys to success for this career path, what could people be thinking about?
Musical joke. The keys to success are B flat and D flat. Sorry. Keys to success. Keys to success in this industry are I would say, especially for a musician, rhythm and intonation. Get yourself a metronome. Get yourself a tuner. And if you want to be really serious, and that will put you ahead of about 90% of all the local hacks around you. Keys to success as a musician would also be, I would say, intent. Your intent behind your notes is more and more important. As many machines as we have, as many drum machines and synthesizers and samplers, there's a lot to be said for heart. Mm-hmm. So real quick, just heart, good intonation, good rhythm, and big ears, I think, are huge keys for being a musician.
And for people who are watching right now, whether they're in high school, they're in college, maybe their neighbor, their child, their nephew, whatever, is thinking about this career path.
Yeah.
What can they start doing today? What are some things they could do right now when they could start today to move on a path towards what you do?
Today. Right now, today, go practice. And enjoy what you do. You're going to have good days and bad days, but do at least one thing every day that you think helps further your career. Try to do something. Reach out. Play in your local church. You'd be surprised how many opportunities there are. Sometimes I'll even set up a hat at the Hollywood Bowl and go out and practice, but I'll come home with $20. So don't get discouraged. Keep going. Practice and look to be interested to anybody who can use you. At first, it doesn't matter if you're making money or not. Do what you love. Eventually, you're going to find a way to make money with it.
That's excellent advice. And this is something people could do anywhere in America, right? Yeah. Anywhere around the world.
It doesn't matter if it's a kazoo or singing or whatever you do to make noise that makes you happy. I saw a guy in, is it Waukegan, Illinois? Or
yes.
Waukegan,
yeah.
Played a saw like you wouldn't believe. Just, regular old wood saw.
Right.
But he's passionate about it, loves it. And wouldn't you know, that guy found a gig somewhere.
Very good. Very good. So this is good advice here from Cameron, everybody. I want to thank you all for watching. Keep watching Careers Out There. We're going to have regular people talking about the jobs that they love so that they can help inspire you to find a career that fits for you. Thank you so much. I'm Mark Luber. We'll see you again soon. Take care.